Inauguration Eve in the United States, the transition to skepticism, cynicism, and suspicions has already taken place. No fake news, no doublespeak. Neither Donald Trump nor his team appear, in their own words, great enough to change public opinion tonight. I'm Brent Goff, and this is The Day.
But really, the credit, I can tell you, goes to our president-elect. Sometimes people stop me on the street and they say, how you holding up? I can't imagine how busy you are. And I just tell them, well, you just have to understand that the energy and the enthusiasm of Donald Trump is contagious. Let me say to all of you, we look forward to seeing you tomorrow. It's going to be a very humbling and moving day. For the fact we can't wait to get to work for the American people to make America great again.
The new U.S. administration ready to take power. I'm Helena Humphrey at the World Economic Forum in Davos. I'll tell you why leaders here are struggling to share the confidence of Donald Trump. The Day with Brent Goff starts now.
Welcome to the program, everyone. We begin the day in a world wondering what is about to happen. The next time you and I meet here, Donald Trump will have taken the oath of office as the 45th president of the United States. Where he will take the world's only superpower after that, well, that remains very much a mystery. The only thing certain tonight is exceptional uncertainty. Now, the constant contradictions of a future Trump White House, well, they were revealed clearly last night. Trump's pick for UN ambassador, Nikki Haley, well, she got caught in the truth traps of Trump's policies. Haley, like several other cabinet nominees, was open and firm in her disagreement with Trump on certain key points, such as Russia being guilty of war crimes in Syria. Now, I want you to watch what happened when a senator pressed Haley on being at odds with her future commander-in-chief.
Well, so do you agree with his suggestion that Vladimir Putin has been a stronger, better leader than Angela Merkel?
I think that what he is looking at, just like he's looking at associations, he's looking at opportunities, and he's trying to find opportunities where he can relate to different leaders and work with different leaders. That's not a bad thing. We should want.
It's not a very good way to relate to Angela Merkel.
No, it's not, and I agree with you on that. But I do think that's where he's trying to go, is see what relationship he can have with a lot of different leaders. And I think our goal is.
Well, does that tell us the promise of candidate Trump will have little similarity with the real policies of President Trump? Is there Haley hope for the world? Well, to talk about that and more, I'm joined tonight here at the big table by Professor Eric Langenbacher from Georgetown University in Washington, D.C. Eric is a leading scholar in German-American relations. He's worked in the U.S. State Department and in German government offices. Eric, it's good to have you here at the big table on The Day with us. The hard reality before the hope. I mean, that exchange that we saw there, I mean, we've seen it numerous times in the past week or so. Trump says one thing, his cabinet picks say the opposite. Who should the world believe?
Well, at this point, the world has to believe all of the above, right? Because we have no way to differentiate between what's going to actually be a policy proposal and what's just, spouting off at the cuff. I would say, however, that we should take what the nominees are saying under oath extremely seriously, as opposed to tweets that, of course, have no legal ramifications.
Yeah, what about those tweets? There's been a lot of doublespeak that we've heard, not just from Trump, but from his team as well. What part of U.S. policy under Trump, when you consider that there has been a lot of doublespeak, what part of U.S. policy worries you the most?
Oh, where to begin? I guess as somebody who's been very involved with trying to understand the transatlantic relationship, I think that what Trump has been saying, and then of course partially contradicted, but what Trump's been saying about NATO being obsolete, what Trump's been saying about Angela Merkel's leadership ability, the very positive things that he's saying about Russia, which of course is a human rights abuser in a variety of places, that probably disturbs me the most. But the list is very long.
I want to get back to this Haley hope notion for a moment. I mean, even the German finance minister today told reporters that there is reason not to be so pessimistic. Take a listen to what Wolfgang Schäuble had to say today.
The president-elect said he wants to make U.S. stronger. If you want to make a world superpower stronger, you cannot reduce their capacity to lead the world. Otherwise, you would make this world superpower weaker. That is not what the president-elect has announced. Therefore, I'm a little bit optimistic.
So that you've got Schäuble right there, calling Trump out on his doublespeak. Do you think the cabinet members in the Trump White House will they be able to pull Trump back from the positions that he took on the campaign trail?
I mean, one would hope so. And one would hope that Trump has enough confidence in his cabinet nominees that they actually take their, at times, actually very sage advice. But who knows? It seems like Trump's decision-making style is to listen to all sorts of different perspectives from different actors and then to just make a decision based on the argument that resonates with him the most. So, I don't know. I guess the question is, which cabinet member is he going to listen to at the time that he's making a decision?
Yeah, and of course, only time will tell with that. Well, theirs is a geopolitical bromance that is at the center of intelligence reports and clandestine contacts of foreign spies. I'm talking about Donald Trump and the Russian President Vladimir Putin. Trump is hard-pressed to say anything negative about Putin, and that is part of the reason why skepticism and suspicions surround Trump tonight.
America's fortress-like Moscow embassy. It's been a bruising few years for US-Russian relations. Diplomatic confrontation, sanctions, and most recently allegations of state-sponsored hacking have revived memories of the Cold War. But could that change when the man Russian President Vladimir Putin has showered with praise takes office? One of Russia's top pollsters is cautiously optimistic. The hopes arising from Trump's victory and possible changes to US policy have seen anti-American feeling falling significantly. But how do Muscovites see things changing?
I hope he'll be a positive president and our relations will improve. I hope that we get to travel more and the dollar exchange rate will fall.
I'm used to taking responsibility for my own life, irrespective of who's in charge, either here or in America. It would be good if we got on better. We need to improve life here. If we're friends with America, that's not a bad thing. But they need to listen to us, listen to our president.
That's the message that's been heard time and time again from the Kremlin in recent months. The need for more respect from Washington in its dealings with Moscow. But what does respect really mean for this troubled relationship?
To accept that Russia is like it is, with its national interests, but also with its way to live politically, to live ideologically, mentally, and so on. It sounds very trivial, but in fact, after the Cold War, all US presidents, they assumed that Russia should be different, that Russia should change, that Russia is not okay.
Down the years, US presidents from both parties have placed their hopes on building close personal ties with Vladimir Putin's Kremlin. George W. Bush famously claimed to have looked into Putin's soul. As Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton traveled to Moscow with a mock-up of a restart button. Now Donald Trump wants to use his deal-making skills to turn things around. What the Kremlin wants from the new US administration is becoming increasingly clear. What's less clear is what the Kremlin is willing to give President Trump in return.
Eric, when you see that report, how do you explain to a global audience that Americans are not up in arms about Russian hacking of elections? You've got a president-elect who is open in his respect for a leader who wants to undermine democracy. Where is the outrage?
Well, first of all, I think there are a lot of Americans that are outraged. That would include every person who identifies as a Democrat, a lot of independents, and increasingly a lot of congressional Republicans as well. So the outrage is there, but you have a very good point that there isn't mortal outrage.
But it's usually the Republicans in Congress who would be the ones who would be against any association with Russia.
But I think this is what unsettles me the most about the current state of American politics, is that we've kind of lost this basic respect for fair play. And if this benefits one side, which of course the hacks did very, very clearly, then people don't care about that. And, you know, the kind of undermining of these basic norms that have made our democracy work is really, really distressing.
All right, I want to turn now to China. Trump wasted no time after the election in November rubbing China the wrong way. He accepted, as we all know, a phone call from Taiwan's president, breaking decades of U.S. policy in line with the one China stance.
The Chinese Year of the Rooster is about to begin. And this tribute to Donald Trump may be popular, but the real president-elect and his confrontational attitude towards China arouses less enthusiasm. But experts like Jie Guo from Beijing University believe Trump is playing the Chinese. They think his aim is to strengthen his hand in any future talks. He says Beijing is unfazed by his posturing.
We'll react on the basis of our interests and our principles, okay? Rather than being affected by the style of his approach.
There's a lot at stake. The world's two largest economies are tightly interwoven. If the Trump administration follows through on its threat to impose tariffs on Chinese goods, China would likely retaliate. At the World Economic Forum in Davos this week, China's President Xi Jinping cast himself as an advocate of globalization. He had a message for Washington. Protectionism is like holding yourself up in a dark room. While wind and rain can be kept outside, so will light and air. No one emerges as a winner in a trade war. A show of strength in the Taiwan Strait. China sent an aircraft carrier to the region last month to demonstrate that its one China policy is non-negotiable. Trump has called that into question. The disputed South China Sea is not a place where either side wants to see a military confrontation. But the danger has risen. The incoming U.S. administration has threatened to send Beijing a signal to stop it from building in the disputed waters. Many Chinese are worried about what lies ahead. He should connect the dots more and not destroy stability. There have been so many improvements in Chinese-American relations. We all want a better life, but when someone stands in the way of another's development for his own gain, it's not in keeping with our times. Chinese leaders have reacted cautiously to the harsh tone from Trump and his new cabinet, emphasizing common interests instead. But it seems like they have to prepare for anything.
Eric, what would you say is more worrisome? A President Trump who would provoke a military conflict with Beijing, or a President Trump who pulls back in foreign affairs and allows the new superpower, China, to establish a new order across Southeast Asia?
I think pullback is definitely the bigger concern, Brent. I mean, when you think about all of the hotspots in that part of the world, not just the South China Sea, but also the island dispute between Japan and China, the island dispute between South Korea and Japan. I mean, there's all sorts of stuff that could blow up in a second if we pull back. And I think that this is a very dangerous course. And what I don't understand is why the president-elect would unnecessarily antagonize a very complicated power where there's also a lot of uncertainty, meaning the Chinese.
Before we let you go, any predictions for tomorrow? What would you like to see, or what should, in your opinion, Donald Trump say to America?
Well, what will Donald Trump say and what he should say are two very different things. I personally think that he should start with a big apology. If he wants to really unite Americans, which now his people are saying he wants to do, he should start by having a clean slate, by apologizing to those groups and those individuals who he really offended over the course of the campaign and the transition. So a nice apology is something I would be looking for tomorrow.
All right. Well, we'll see if that happens. Eric Langenbacher with Georgetown University. You're going to be back with us for our special coverage tomorrow of the inauguration, the parade, and the next chapter, which starts with President Trump. We'll see you then.
Can't wait.